Commander Jin Park stood on the observation deck of the Terran station orbiting Mars, watching supply ships prepare for their journey to the outer colonies. His weathered face showed the pride of a man who had spent 20 years building humanity's dream among the stars. The Terran Confederation now stretched across 17 star systems, each one a testament to human determination and hope. "Another peaceful day in paradise," Dr. Hannah Kim said as she joined him at the viewing window. Research team had just finished broadcasting their daily friendship signals into deep space. Messages of cooperation and scientific exchange sent to any alien civilization that might be listening. For 5 years, they had been sending these transmissions without response. But Hannah never lost faith that someday someone would answer with friendship. Jin smiled at his old friend. Dada. They had both believed so strongly in this vision of a united galaxy, where different species would work together to explore the mysteries of the universe. Human colonies on New Terra were growing crops that could feed millions. The mining stations around Kepler 442 were extracting resources that would fuel humanity's expansion for generations. Research outposts scattered throughout their territory were making discoveries that pushed the boundaries of science. The Henderson family just had twins on Colony 7, Hannah continued, showing Jin a message on her tablet. "The first babies born in the Vega system. We want to name them Hope and Future." Jin laughed. Perfect names for the next generation of star travelers. Neither of them noticed the small, dark objects moving silently through space toward their 17 systems. The objects had been watching, waiting, learning human patterns and weaknesses for months. They belonged to 12 different alien species who had formed a secret alliance called the Gemini Council. Captain Tae Lee was leading a routine patrol near Kepler Station when his sensors detected something impossible. Ships were appearing. Out of nowhere, hundreds of them, surrounding every human outpost simultaneously. They were unlike anything in the human database, sleek vessels with weapons that seemed to bend light itself. "All stations, this is Captain Lee." He broadcast on emergency frequencies. "We have unknown vessels approaching all human colonies. I repeat, unknown vessels are." His transmission was cut short as the first alien weapon fired. Explosion or a beam of energy. Instead, the weapon seemed to turn matter against itself. The outer hull of Kepler Station began to dissolve, its metal structure unraveling at the molecular level. Within minutes, the massive research facility was gone, leaving only empty space where 5,000 humans had lived and worked across 17 star systems. The same horror was unfolding. The alien weapons were beyond human understanding, turning colonies into dust, transforming mining stations into clouds of scattered atoms. The humans tried to fight back, but their conventional weapons could not even scratch the alien holes. On New Terra, families ran for evacuation ships as their cities crumbled around them. On the agricultural worlds, farmers watched their crops, and livestock simply ceased to exist as alien weapons swept across the surface. Research stations that had been humanity's pride became funeral pyres visible from light years. Away, Captain Lee managed to save 300 survivors from various stations, cramming them into his ship and 2 emergency vessels as they fled. Through hyperspace toward Earth, he listened to the final transmissions from the dying colonies. The aliens had sent a message, broadcast on all human frequencies, in perfect English. "Humans of Earth," the message began in a cold, mechanical voice. "The Hegemony Council has observed your species for decades. You expand too quickly. You claim resources without permission. Your genetic structure shows dangerous, aggressive tendencies. The Council has determined that humanity poses a threat to galactic stability. Your expansion beyond your home system is now permanently forbidden. Any attempt to leave Earth's solar system will result in immediate destruction. This is not negotiable. This is final." The message repeated 12 times in 12 different alien languages, as if the Council wanted to make sure every species in the galaxy understood what had happened to the humans. Dr. Hannah Kim was in her laboratory on Earth when the news arrived. Her hands shook as she read the reports from Captain Lee's ship. 17 systems, millions of people, all gone in 6 hours. Her friendship messages had been answered, but not with the cooperation she had dreamed of. They had been answered. With extinction, Commander Jin Park stood in the emergency meeting of Earth's government leaders, his face no longer showing pride, but cold fury. The dreams of peaceful expansion were dead, burned away with the colonies. The aliens had made one critical mistake, though. They had left Earth intact, thinking the humans would accept their prison and fade quietly into history. They called us too dangerous to exist beyond Earth, Jin said to the assembled leaders. They have no idea how dangerous we can actually become. In the months that followed, ships approaching Earth's solar system detected nothing. No transmissions, no movement, no signs of the bustling civilization that had once sent messages of friendship to the stars. The great silence had fallen, and the galaxy assumed humanity had accepted defeat. They were wrong. In the darkness between the planets, in hidden facilities on the far side of the moon, in underground bunkers across Earth, humanity was learning a terrible new lesson. The universe was not a place of cooperation and friendship. It was a battlefield, where only the strong survived and the weak were eliminated without mercy. The peaceful explorers were dead. What remained would forge something much harder. Dr. Yun Cho crawled through the twisted wreckage of an alien fighter that had crashed on Earth's moon during the first attack. 37 years had passed since the Great Silence began, and she had spent every day of those years studying the enemy technology. Her hands were scarred from handling the strange metal that seemed to shift and change when touched. Her eyes were tired from staring at alien circuits that followed no human logic. This power source is incredible, she whispered to her assistant, carefully removing a crystal that glowed with inner light. It stores more energy than our best reactors, but it's no bigger than my fist. If we can figure out how it works, ... Above them, through the dome of the hidden lunar facility, Earth hung in the black sky like a blue marble. It looked peaceful. From here, but you knew better. Every major nation on Earth had secretly contributed to Project Lazarus. They had built underground factories, hidden research centers, and training facilities that the alien blockade could not detect. General Shin Kung stood in the combat simulation chamber, watching his newest recruit practice with the Neuralink helmet. The young woman's name was Captain Hannah Park, daughter of the late Commander Jin Park. She moved through the virtual battlefield like a dancer, her thoughts controlling weapons and shields with impossible speed. The Neuralink is responding perfectly, Shin said to his aide. Her reaction time is 3 times faster than normal human reflexes. When she thinks about firing, the weapon fires. When she thinks about dodging, her ship moves. The connection is so complete that the ship becomes part of her body. The simulation ended, and Hannah removed the helmet. Sweat covered her face, but her eyes burned with determination. When do we start building the real ships, General? Shin smiled. It was the first time he had smiled in years. Soon, very soon. In the hidden shipyards on the far side of the moon, engineer Ari Song watched her masterpiece take shape. The Aurora-class warship looked nothing like the peaceful exploration vessels humanity had once built. It was sleek and deadly, covered in armor that could bend light around it to become invisible. Its weapons were based on reverse-engineered alien technology, but improved with human engineering. The quantum tunneling drive is ready for testing, Ari reported to the project leaders. We can skip through normal space like jumping across stones in a stream. The aliens won't see us coming until we're already there. Dr. Yoon studied the drive. Schematics on her tablet? How does it work? We create a bubble of twisted space-time around the ship, Ari explained. Then we punch holes in reality and step through them. It's like folding a piece of paper and poking a pencil through both layers. We enter the fold here and come out there, without traveling through the space in between. The older woman nodded slowly. The aliens use hyperspace drives that we can detect and track. But this... This is completely different. They won't know how to stop something they can't understand. In the deep training facilities beneath the mountains of Tibet, soldiers learned to fight like their enemies while keeping their humanity. They studied alien tactics and strategies, learning to think like predators instead of explorers. But they also learned why they were fighting. Commander Tae Lee, now promoted to admiral, spoke to a group of new recruits. His hair was gray now, and his face showed the weight of carrying the memories of the lost colonies. "The aliens think we're just aggressive animals," he said. "They think we'll fight until we destroy ourselves? They're wrong. We'll fight to protect. We fight to ensure that no other species will suffer what we suffered." A young recruit raised her hand. "Sir, what happens after we win?" Tay looked at her for a long moment. "We build a galaxy where being peaceful doesn't make you weak, where friendship isn't seen as a threat, where no one has to choose between expansion and extinction." Years passed slowly. Earth's population learned to live in secret, to hide their preparations from the alien watchers in orbit. Children grew up learning both mathematics and combat tactics. Scientists discovered new laws of physics while engineers built weapons that could crack planets. Artists created beautiful works of art while generals planned battles that would reshape the galaxy. Dr. Yoon made breakthrough after breakthrough, each one bringing humanity closer to the technology they needed. General Shin trained thousands of neural link pilots, creating a new breed of warrior who could think and fight at superhuman speeds. Engineer Ari built a fleet of invisible ships that could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. But they never forgot what they were fighting for. In the deep tunnels beneath Earth, they built a memorial wall covered with the names of everyone who had died in the first attack. Millions of names, from the farmers of New Terra to the scientists of Kepler Station. Every soldier who trained, every scientist who researched, every engineer who built, did so under the gaze of those names. "We remember" became their motto. "Remember, and we will return." The aliens had taught humanity a harsh lesson about the nature of the universe. The strong survived, and the weak were destroyed. But they had failed to understand humanity's greatest strength. Humans did not fight just for themselves. They fought for their families, their friends, their species, and for the dream of a better galaxy. They had learned to think like their enemies, but they had not become their enemies. They remained human, with all the loyalty, hope, determination that the word implied. The forge of resolve was nearly complete. Soon, it would be time to test what it had created. Captain Zix of the hegemony patrol ship Eternal Watch was checking his daily reports when his sensor officer made a sound of confusion. They had been guarding the edge of human space for 37 years, watching for any sign that the primitive Earth species might try to leave their solar system. It had been the most boring assignment in the galaxy. "Captain, I'm getting strange." "Readings," the sensor officer said, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "There's something moving through quantum space, but it's not following any known physics." Zix looked at his screens. The readings made no sense. Ships were appearing and disappearing like ghosts, moving in ways that should have been impossible. "Run a full diagnostic on the sensors. They must be broken." "Sir, diagnostics show all systems working perfectly." "The readings are real?" Before Zix could respond, space around his ship began to twist and bend. 12 sleek vessels materialized out of nothing, surrounding the hegemony patrol. They were unlike anything in the galactic database human built, but incorporating technology that seemed to break the laws of physics. "Unknown vessels, identify yourselves." Zix broadcast on all frequencies. "You're violating hegemony space." The response came in perfect Zephyrian, the clicking language of Zix's species. "We are humanity. We have returned." Admiral Wan Li stood on the bridge of the TDS Retribution, watching the alien patrol ships through his view screen. 37 years of preparation had led to this moment. His neural link connected him directly to his ship's systems, making him faster and deadlier than any normal pilot. Around him, his crew worked with silent efficiency, their movements precise and deadly. "Admiral, the alien commander is demanding our surrender," his communications officer reported. Juan's smile was cold as winter. "Hello." "Tell him we have a message." From Earth. The alien patrol ship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. The weapons that destroyed it were based on the same technology the hegemony had used to murder human colonies, but improved by human engineering. Where the aliens had built tools of destruction, Humans had built instruments of precise death. The remaining patrol ships tried to flee, but quantum tunneling drives made escape impossible. Human ships appeared in front of them, behind them. Above and below them, the battle was over in minutes, leaving only debris where the hegemony blockade had once stood. "Send a message to Earth," Juan ordered. "The path is clear. Begin Phase 2. Light years away, on the Zephyrian monitoring station orbiting the gas giant Keith Prime. Station Commander Velk received the emergency transmission from the patrol fleet. The message was broken and filled with static, but the words that came through were impossible to believe. Humans... returned. Impossible technology. Entire patrol destroyed. Velk stared at the message screen with disbelief. Humans were supposed to be trapped on their homeworld, slowly dying out as their spirit was broken by isolation. They were primitive beings who had been easily defeated by superior hegemony technology. How could they have developed quantum drives that the greatest alien scientists had never imagined? His answer came when space around the monitoring station began to ripple like water. Human ships emerged from quantum tunnels, their hulls gleaming with the strange metal that seemed to absorb sensor beams. They moved with perfect coordination, like a pack of hunters surrounding their prey. "All stations, we are under attack." Velk broadcast on emergency frequencies. "Humans have returned, and they are not the same species we defeated." The monitoring station's shields were the strongest in the sector, designed to withstand attacks from entire fleets. They lasted exactly 12 seconds against human weapons. The station's hull began to dissolve at the molecular level, the same terrible death that had claimed human colonies decades earlier. But these weapons were different. They were controlled, precise, surgical. The humans were not trying to destroy everything like mindless beasts. They were targeting specific systems, specific people. Velk realized with growing horror that they knew exactly what they were doing. "Please," he broadcast toward the human ships. "We can negotiate. We can find a peaceful solution." The response came in his own language, spoken by a human voice that carried the weight of decades of anger. "You had your chance for peace 37 years ago. You chose war. Now you will learn what humans do to those who murder their families." Station's weapons turned against itself, controlled by human technology that had infiltrated its computer systems. Velk watched in terror as his own defenses began tearing his station apart from the inside. The humans had not just learned to fight. They had learned to make their enemies, destroy themselves. News of the attacks spread through the hegemony communication networks like wildfire. The impossible had happened. The humans had broken free of their prison, and they were not the peaceful explorers who had once sent messages of friendship. They had become something else, something terrible and precise and utterly without mercy. Admiral Juan stood in the ruins of the monitoring station, his boots clicking on the metal deck as he walked among the alien survivors. They cowered before him, these beings who had once thought themselves superior to humanity. Their fear was visible in their trembling and their pleading eyes. "Your council made a mistake," he said to them, his voice carrying the authority of humanity's fury. "You thought destroying our colonies would break our spirit. Instead, you taught us what the universe really is. You showed us that strength is the only language that matters." He gestured to his officers, who began escorting the alien prisoners to transport ships. "You will live to carry a message back. To your masters, tell them that humanity remembers every death, every destroyed world, every silenced voice. Tell them that we are coming, and we will not stop until every species in the galaxy understands that genocide has consequences." The galaxy watched and trembled as word spread of humanity's return. They had learned to fight with alien technology, but they fought with human determination. Each ship carried the fury of millions of murdered colonists, and they would not rest until their reckoning was complete. The grand chamber of the hegemony. Council had not seen such panic in over 2,000 years. Representatives from 12 different species filled the circular hall, their various forms of communication creating a chaos of clicks, whistles, and electronic pulses. High Chancellor Vorth, a towering crystalline being from the oldest member. Race struggled to maintain order as emergency reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The humans have destroyed our main fleet at Sector 7, announced the Zephyrian representative, his forearms shaking as he read from his datapad. 47 ships lost, no survivors. They appeared out of nowhere, struck for exactly 3 minutes, then vanished. Our mining operations in the Helio system are gone, added the Korathi delegate, her blue skin pale with fear. The humans didn't just destroy the facilities, they turned our own defense systems against us. Our weapons fired on our own ships. High Chancellor Vorth raised his massive crystalline hand for silence. How is this possible? Our intelligence reports said. The humans were trapped on their homeworld, slowly dying from isolation. They had primitive technology, no understanding of advanced physics. The draconian military advisor, General Scrix, stood on his powerful legs and spread his wings. Chancellor, I have studied these attacks. The humans are not using the same tactics we used against them. They are not trying to destroy everything at once. They are precise. They are calculated. They know exactly where to hit us to cause maximum damage. What do you mean? Vorth asked. They have been watching us, learning about us for 37 years, Scrix explained. They know our supply lines, our communication networks, our military structures. Every attack targets a specific weakness. They are not fighting like angry animals. They are fighting like masters of war. As if summoned by their discussion, the chamber's main screen activated. The image showed the massive Korathi shipyards, the pride of that species' engineering. Except now they were burning. Massive. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as fuel depots detonated in chain reactions. Human ships moved through the destruction like deadly dancers, their weapons carving through alien hulls with surgical precision. A human figure appeared on the screen. He wore the uniform of Earth's military, his face calm and determined. Him fires from the destroyed shipyards painted the darkness in orange and red. I am Admiral Day Kim of the Terran Dominion, the human said, his voice clear and strong. You are watching the death of the Korathi fleet, built with materials stolen from our murdered colonies. This shipyard produced the vessels that blockaded our system for 37 years. The council chamber fell silent. Even the normally aggressive draconian delegates stopped their growling. You taught us that the universe rewards only strength, Admiral Kim continued. You showed us that mercy is weakness, that compassion is foolishness. You believed that might makes right, that the strong can destroy the weak without consequence. Today, we are your students come to graduation. Behind him, another explosion lit up the screen as a massive alien battleship broke in half. But you made one critical error in your education, Kim said. You assumed that we would forget. You thought that time would heal our wounds, that we would eventually accept our cage and fade quietly into history. You underestimated the most dangerous human trait of all. He paused, and his expression hardened. We remember everything.
Ow.
The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in shocked silence. High Chancellor Vorth was the first to speak. Tend envoys to the humans immediately. Offer them negotiations. Offer them reparations. Offer them anything they want. The Korathi delegate looked up from her communications device. Chancellor, we already tried. 3 different species have sent diplomatic missions to human space. The humans sent back one message each time. What message? The time for words ended with a great silence. Over the following weeks, the reports continued to pour in. Human attacks were happening simultaneously across the galaxy, perfectly coordinated despite the vast distances involved. Military bases, shipyards, supply convoys, and communication centers. But they were not random attacks. Each target had played a specific role in humanity's destruction 37 years ago. The vegan species had provided the raw materials for the weapons that dissolved human colonies. Human ships appeared at their mining worlds and used those same dissolution weapons to turn their facilities into dust. The Altarians had supplied the Altarians that located every human outpost. Human commandos infiltrated their spy networks and turned their own information systems against them, revealing military secrets to their enemies. The Centaurians had built the blockade ships that trapped Earth. Human forces captured there. shipyards, and used them to build more human vessels, each one carrying the names of murdered human colonies. They are not just fighting a war, General Scrix reported to the Emergency Council session. They are delivering justice. Each attack corresponds to a specific crime committed against their species. They have kept detailed records of every ship, every weapon, every participant in their destruction. The hegemony tried everything. They offered to surrender territories. They promised to pay tribute. They even offered to serve humanity as vassals. The human response never changed. Admiral Wan. Lee's message was broadcast to every world in hegemony space. You had 37 years to feel guilt for what you did. You had 37 years to send apologies, to offer reparations, to show any sign of regret. Instead, you've celebrated our destruction and divided our former territories among yourselves. You made your choice. Now live with the consequences. The galaxy was learning that there were some wounds that could never heal, some crimes that could never be forgiven. Humanity had been taught that the universe was ruled by strength, and they had proven to be exceptional students. But unlike their teachers, they remembered everything. Admiral Mi Zhang walked through the corridors of the rebuilt Kepler station, her footsteps echoing in the vast halls that had once been filled with human laughter and dreams. 5 years had passed since humanity's return, and the galaxy was a very different place now. The walls around her were covered with names, millions of them, etched in metal that gleamed under the soft lights. Every human who had died in the betrayal was remembered here. She stopped before one section of the wall and placed her hand on a familiar name, Dr. Hannah Kim. The woman who had spent her life sending messages of friendship to the stars. Next to it was Commander Jin Park, who had believed so deeply in peaceful exploration. Their names were surrounded by thousands of others, farmers, scientists, children, engineers, teachers, and dreamers who had died for the crime of being human. Admiral, the Centaurian delegation has arrived, Raid reported. Mi nodded and made her way to the station's main conference room. Through the large windows, she could see the ships of the former hegemony species wading in carefully. Ordered formations. They were no longer the proud fleets that had once blockaded Earth. Many ships showed signs of hasty repairs, and their crews followed human traffic control orders without question. The Centaurian ambassador, a tall being with pale blue skin and large black eyes, stood nervously as Mi entered the room. Behind him, 3 other ambassadors from different species waited with barely concealed fear. These were the survivors, the ones who had surrendered quickly enough to avoid complete destruction. Admiral Zhang, the Centaurian said, his voice shaking slightly, "We have come to discuss the mining rights in Sector 12, as requested by the Terran Dominion." Mi sat down at the head of the table, her uniform bearing the insignia of humanity's new empire. "The resources in that sector will be extracted by human companies using human workers. Your species will receive 20% of the profits as agreed in your surrender terms." "But Admiral, our people have been mining those asteroids for centuries. Surely we can negotiate." "There is nothing to negotiate," Mi said calmly. "You had your chance to negotiate 37 years ago. You chose war instead. These are the terms of your surrender. You may accept them, or you may join the Karathi in the Outer Rim, running from human patrols for the rest of your existence." Ambassador's skin grew even paler. The Karathi had been one of the most aggressive species in the original attack on humanity. They had refused all surrender offers and had been hunted to the edge of the galaxy. Their once mighty empire was now scattered across a few hidden colonies, always moving, always afraid that human ships would find them. "Accept the terms," the Centaurian said quickly. Mi turned to the other ambassadors. "And your species?"
"Oh."
By one, they agreed. They had learned what happened to those who opposed humanity. The Draconian Empire had been completely destroyed, their homeworld turned into a monument to human determination. The vegan collective had surrendered only after half their fleet was captured and used against them. The survivors served now as laborers in human-controlled space, building the ships and stations of their former enemies. After the meeting, Mi walked to the station's central command center. Here Admiral Wan Li coordinated human forces across the galaxy. Holographic displays showed the positions of hundreds of human ships, patrolling trade routes and maintaining order in the new galactic civilization. How are the Altarians adapting to their new role? He asked. Juan smiled grimly. Better than expected. They're excellent at gathering intelligence, now that they're working for us instead of against us. Their spy networks are helping us locate the remaining Karathi hideouts and the neutral species. The Regilians have officially requested to join the Terran Dominion. They stayed out of the war against us, and they've proven to be valuable trading partners. The Andromedans are also interested in an alliance? Me nodded. The galaxy was slowly learning the new rules. Species that had remained neutral during humanity's imprisonment found themselves welcomed as equals in the Terran Dominion. Freely with human worlds, shared technology, and even served alongside human crews on exploration missions. But those who had participated in the attempted genocide of humanity lived under very different conditions. She walked to the memorial garden at the center of the station, where a holographic display showed the 17 human colonies as they had been before the attack. Children played in parks that no longer existed. Scientists worked in laboratories that had been turned to dust. Families lived and loved and dreamed in cities that were now only memories. We did it, me whispered to the ghosts of the past. We kept our promise. No one will ever again destroy human worlds and expect to survive. A young officer approached her. Admiral, we've received word from the Outer Rim. Our patrol ships have located another Karathi colony. Should we engage? He looked up at the stars through the transparent dome above the garden. Somewhere out there, the last members of the species that had led the attack on humanity were hiding. In fear, they had children of their own now, born in exile, knowing only fear of human retribution. Send them a message, she said finally. Tell them they have one chance to surrender. If they agree to serve the Dominion, they will be allowed to live. If they refuse, they will share the fate of their homeworld. The officer saluted and left. To carry out her orders, he remained in the garden, surrounded by the memory of humanity's lost dreams and the reality of their new empire. The universe had taught humanity that strength was the only language that mattered. They had learned that lesson well, perhaps too well. They had also learned something else. Sometimes, to ensure that peace could exist, one had to be so terrifying in war that no one would ever dare to disturb that peace again. The stars that had once witnessed humanity's destruction now bore witness to their ascension. And the galaxy would never forget either lesson.